Are you guys into the paranormal or wonder if there's a parallel universe? Check out the Parallel Universe Communicator. It's an app available on Google Play. The app was created by Caitlin and can theoretically contact a parallel universe. The app is free and contains no ads, so you've got nothing to lose by downloading it. Check out the Parallel Universe Communicator on Google Play today.
Welcome to the All Elite Podcast. Covering all the latest news and results from the AEW.
Wait a minute. Sean Spears? Oh my God! Spears with a chair shot right to the side of the head of Cody.
This is pro wrestling analysis as you've never heard before.
Deathly Hallows!
Might be it.
1, 2, 3, Kasabian!
Coming to you every single week. So without any further delay, let's go all in and get the show started right now.
What is up, guys? Welcome to this week's edition of the All Elite Podcast right here on the WWE Podcast. My name is Jeff Johnson. I am your host. I hope all of y'all are doing well. It's still kind of crazy out there in the real world right now, but for the next 2 hours, we're going to sit back, enjoy some AEW Dynamite, have a good time. Hope the guys enjoy this podcast. I've really been enjoying AEW a lot the last couple of weeks. It's been a good distraction from everything going on in the real world. And also want to give a shout out to the WWE real quick too, because they put on a great WrestleMania this past weekend. Although there's a lot of questions going into it about how it's going to be presented with no crowd, and the two matches that were done a little different than the other matches were, talking about the Boneyard match and the Firefly Funhouse match. But all in all, I think WWE put out a great product this past weekend. So if you guys haven't had a chance to check out WrestleMania yet, make sure you guys do. And also check out our breakdowns from both of those nights here on the WWE Podcast. They're great shows, and has a couple of great guests on there. So a lot of product out there, a lot of content. So make sure you guys check it all out. Before we get started, guys, make sure you guys subscribe to the WWE Podcast on all of your podcasting platforms: Stitcher, Spotify, Apple. Almost said iTunes, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, wherever you guys get your podcasts. Make sure you guys subscribe. Leave a 5-star review on Spotify or on Apple iTunes whenever you can. See, I said iTunes again. I'm still living old school. Apple Podcasts now. So make sure you guys do that. And the reviews you guys leave, it helps the podcast grow, helps us be able to do more things, and your guys' reviews really make a difference. So make sure you guys do that. All right, guys, well, let's not waste any time. Let's get into this week's edition of AEW Dynamite. So AEW Dynamite starts this week with Jake the Snake Roberts in a vignette that he recorded earlier in the day. And it's kind of like his other promos he's been doing, where he's been sitting in a dark room on what looks like a throne. And this was another great promo by Jake Roberts. He's one of the best of all time, and he's still doing great work. He was hyping up Lance Archer, talking about how destructive he is, and kind of started shooting down Marco Stunt, saying that he knew ahead of time how last week was going to go with Lance Archer just completely destroying him. And he said a line, "A man is assumed foolish until he opens his mouth and is proved to be right," or something like that. I'm kind of paraphrasing there, but that's pretty much what he said. And hyped up Lance Archer a little bit more, and it was just another great promo. Jake Roberts is such a great mouthpiece for Lance Archer. Lance can talk. He's proved in other organizations that he can, but having Jake Roberts in his corner is just going to send Lance Archer to the moon. So I love this pairing. It's one of my favorite pairings in all of AEW. And after this, we actually got Lance Archer in the arena for a match. And he took on I guess it was a local wrestler. I didn't catch his name, unfortunately. But this was just another huge squash match for Archer, showing his dominant power. He had a release choke slam suplex. Kind of hard to say, put into words exactly what it was. But he grabbed him like a choke slam, and then picked him up and flung him over, like kind of like a belly to belly suplex in a way, and just launched him across the ring. It was really impressive. Then he ended up hitting his, what I'm calling like a reverse outsider's edge called the Blackout, which is a really impressive move, and got that for the victory. So Lance Archer is on fire right now, getting ready for his match against Colt Cabana for the TNT Championship, the quarterfinals. And, they're really putting the rocket behind this guy quick, making him this unbeatable monster. And, his first real match, whenever it comes up with Colt Cabana, is going to be really good because Colt's undefeated right now. And they've been hyping that up too. So when that match happens, it's going to be a big one. But, I'd be kind of surprised if Archer didn't win that. We don't see him move on to the tournament. As much as I like Colt Cabana, they're really pushing Archer pretty hard here. So I thought it was a good showing for him. After that, we got a match pitting Britt Baker taking on Hikaru Shida, and this was hyped up as the number 1 contender versus the number 4 contender, with Shida being number 1 and Britt Baker being number 2. This match started off kind of slow. There was a couple of missed spots here and there, but about halfway through, they really started picking up. This match went really long. It went, probably around 18 minutes, pretty close. They got a lot of time to have this match. And Britt Baker looked like she may have broke her nose in this match, and her nose started bleeding really bad. And that's really when this match picked up. Both girls started showing a lot of intensity. Britt's been kind of up and down a little bit with some of her in-ring stuff, and that's kind of how it was in this match. You can tell that she hasn't been in the ring in a little bit, because I think they said this is her first match since February. And, you could tell it took her a little bit to get her legs under her, but she really picked it up and had a really good showing here. Hikaru Shida is probably the hottest wrestler in the women's division of AEW. They said she's won 7 of 8 coming into this match, and now she ended up getting the victory in this one, and now goes to 8 of her last 9. She got the victory hitting her running Shining Wizard, but there was one spot in this match I really want to talk about that was really well done. Britt put Shida in her submission. It's kind of like a modified Rings of Saturn in a way, and then she puts the mandible claw on. Well, she got the Rings of Saturn type move in, and then before she put the mandible claw on, she looked at the referee and told the referee that she wanted a glove. I guess because of talking about the coronavirus, everything going on, and staying sanitary. So the time it took the referee to get the glove out and give it to her gave Shida time to reverse the submission. And it was a really well done spot, and showed that the arrogance of Britt Baker kind of costed her in this match. But overall, I thought this was a good match. Like I said, did start off a little slow, but it really picked up. Both girls showed a lot of intensity, and Hikaru Shida got the victory. And we've been saying this week after week, she is definitely the number 1 contender for whenever Nyla Rose returns and they have their big match. They even talked about in this how Shida had a title match before but wasn't quite able to get the job done. But now that she's got all these wins back to back, they're really putting a lot of momentum behind her. So it wouldn't surprise me if Hikaru Shida got the title off of Nyla Rose. But that match is going to be really good whenever it does happen. So after this, we got a backstage segment between Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa. They're going to be tagging later tonight against the Best Friends. And Nakazawa was talking about how they need a name. They need a name for their team. And Kenny asked him what their name should be. And Nakazawa said, the Best Friends. And Kenny kind of laughed it off and said, well, we kind of already have a Best Friends here. Where, they're very well known. They're very famous. And, they can't really use that name. Well, Nakazawa says, well, you're an EVP. You can make this happen. And Kenny's like, well, yeah, you're right. I am an EVP. So let me think about it. I'll think about it. Well, this was taking place in a trailer backstage. Well, out of the bathroom, all of a sudden walks Orange Cassidy. And Kenny Omega's like, oh no. Oh. And he asked Cassidy, did you hear any of that? Cassidy didn't say anything, and he opened the door, and in walked Trent and Chucky, the actual Best Friends. And they kind of got in a jawing match saying they heard everything that Kenny said. And they actually put up the name Best Friends in this match later on tonight. So whatever team wins this match between Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa against the Best Friends will have the name the Best Friends. This is interesting because obviously Chucky T and Trent have been together for a long time. They've been known as the Best Friends for a long time. But, I've been saying for the last couple of weeks that I wouldn't mind seeing Trent on a singles run because he's been so impressive in his singles matches, especially last week against Cody Rhodes. So, maybe this is the start of the breakup of the Best Friends, which I hate to see because they are my favorite tag team. They have my favorite theme song, so I'd be kind of sad to see them break up. But I've been so impressed with Trent lately and the way he's handled himself in the singles division that maybe it is time. Maybe it is time for the guys to kind of go their separate ways. the tag team division's still completely stacked in AEW. It's great from top to bottom. So I think I would be okay with this. I think Trent deserves it. I don't know how Chucky T would fare. Hopefully he'll do well because he's got a lot of charisma. He's good in the ring, but Trent is. I don't want to say Trent is the star, but Trent has the most potential, in my opinion, to be a main eventer in AEW in the singles division. So, it's going to be a big match later on when this one happens. But, very interesting to put the Best Friends name up for grabs. Next up, we got our tag team match pitting the Best Friends versus Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa. And, guys, this was one of the darndest tag team matches I've seen in a long time. And not in the same way of Kenny and Heyman versus the Young Bucks a few weeks ago. This match was very, very, very interesting. I keep laughing because there was a lot of funny moments in this match, most of it having to do with Michael Nakazawa. He's, I would put him as the equivalent of Santino Marella in WWE, where he's a comedy character, but he's a good wrestler. He has some really funny moments in matches, but when it comes down to it, he can really go, though. And we saw that in this match, and there was a couple of spots that were hilarious involving the baby oil that he likes to use in his matches. One of them being that he chopped Trent, and Trent came back with a harder chop. So Nakazawa put the oil on his chest, and Trent pretty much couldn't chop him because his hand kept slipping off of him. So that was a really funny spot. And this ended up being a really good match. And it kind of went back and forth as when Nakazawa was in the ring, it was more comedy acts, stuff like that. But when Kenny was in the ring, it was more serious, more pro wrestling, I guess, if you want to put a label on it. But the last 5 minutes or so of this match really picked up. Both teams hitting big moves. And in the end, though, the Best Friends ended up getting the victory with the double stomp crunchy combination on Nakazawa for the win. And as you guys know, the stipulation for this match is that whoever won this match had the name the Best Friends. And thankfully, the Best Friends, the original Best Friends, Trent and Chucky T were able to win this match and keep the name. But this match was very, very interesting. Definitely different than most matches we see in AEW, which is the norm for a Michael Nakazawa match. He's very funny. He uses a lot of comedy in his matches, and this was no different. But it involves some really good pro wrestlers too, including Nakazawa. So this was a fun one. At first, I was sitting there watching. I was like, "Oh, this is different." It's there's no reaction from the crowd without there being a crowd, even though they do have the wrestlers in the crowd, so they're reacting. But Nakazawa tends to get some pretty positive reactions from the crowd in front of a big live audience. So to see him do this stuff and not quite get the same reaction, it was a little weird, a little awkward to see at times. But I thought all four guys did a really good job. It was hard to have this type of comedy match, especially with somebody that's a serious competitor like Kenny Omega. And the Best Friends to a certain extent, they have their funny moments as well, but they can be serious competitors too. The match we saw last week with Kenny and Trent was a very serious match. So, like I said, this was the darndest tag team match I've seen in a while, just because of the mixture of comedy and pro wrestling. So, it was fun. It was fun though. I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. And the Best Friends got the victory, so I'm very happy to see that. I mentioned earlier about possibly this could be the way to kind of separate the Best Friends, but hey, they're still in the top rankings for the tag team division. They got a big victory here, and they keep the Best Friends name, so obviously they're going to keep them together for the foreseeable future. But I still feel it. They're putting Trent out there for a reason for these singles matches. First against the members of the Lucha Bros, and then now against Kenny Omega, having great showings against all of them. So, I think there is something there with Trent being a singles competitor, but it's not to be for now, though. It's still a little bit of ways to go, but wouldn't surprise me if it was sooner or later we see Trent in even more singles competition. Next up, we got another video package highlighting the upcoming match between Jake Hager and AEW champion Jon Moxley. They're doing a really, really good job of hyping this matchup. And by sprinkling these video packages throughout the show, they're really making it into a big deal. And they're still doing a great job of putting Jake Hager over as this unbeatable monster that just is training like crazy, getting ready for this. And his wife actually said in this portion of the interview that this would be a no contest for Jake Hager, that he's going to run pretty much right through Jon Moxley, because Moxley's not prepared for somebody that's as dominant as Jake Hager is. And, I know I mentioned this earlier, and I'm going to say the same thing again. I would not be surprised if Jake Hager won this title next week, guys. I know you guys have heard me say that a lot, and I really think it's true. I think with them hyping up Hager as much as they are, and they want to have kind of a shock factor, because a lot of people are going to go in this match thinking that Moxley's going to retain, because he's the big name that came in the beginning of the launch of AEW pretty much, and he was the one to finally beat Le Champion Chris Jericho for the title, and he has all this momentum. So it would be a huge shock factor for Hager to win this title. And, I'm ready for it. I'm ready for the match. I cannot wait for next week to get here. But as for this week, they've done a great job of hyping up the match and making both guys look like huge stars. And it's going down next week. No holds barred, empty arena. It's definitely going to be one to watch. After this, we got an interview with Matt Hardy live from the Hardy compound. And Matt Hardy was talking about Chris Jericho, about how he did his interview from his hot tub last week and how he looked ridiculous with his leather pants on. And then he kind of one by one talked about the members of the inner circle, and saying that Sammy Guevara is not a real god. He's probably not even Spanish. And talking about Santana Ortiz being Puerto Rican and how he loves Puerto Rican food. And then he talked about Hager saying that he's brainwashed by Jericho and he's pretty much a Frankenstein. They put the bolts in his neck. Just typical broken Matt Hardy craziness. This was really good. But the main news thing to come out of this is that Matt Hardy invited Chris Jericho to the Hardy compound to meet him face to face in what he called an elite deletion. And for those of you that know Matt Hardy's broken character from the other organizations, anytime there is a deletion at the Hardy compound, it's a big-time match, which we've seen multiple ones in TNA Impact. We saw the one with him and Bray Wyatt in WWE. I hope this happens. I hope we get Chris Jericho versus Matt Hardy in the Elite Deletion match, and I hope it's filmed the way we know these deletion matches are filmed, because it's going to be absolutely incredible. I know everybody's been really hyped up for the Blood and Guts match. Everybody wants it to happen. But this is a good detour for another match, and I think this is going to get a lot of eyes on the company. I don't know when they're going to do this match. Jericho hasn't officially accepted it yet, but obviously this match is going to happen. It is going to be so much fun, especially with the hype from WrestleMania last weekend, with the way the Firefly Funhouse match was booked and the way the Boneyard match was booked. These cinematic matches are kind of the hot thing going on right now. And I know AEW is going to do one just as good for this Elite Deletion match, so I'm really looking forward to it. So up next, we got Lee Johnson making his Dynamite debut, taking on the Exalted One, Brody Lee. And, Lee Johnson has only had one match in AEW. It was in defeat on AEW Dark. So he is making his Dynamite debut. And, you guys can probably assume exactly how this one went. Brody Lee completely dominant from start to finish. Hit a couple of chops, hit the big boot that he drops to a knee, and then hit the discus clothesline, and that was all she wrote. Quick day at the office for the Exalted One. He actually did have a video earlier in the night I forgot to mention, when he went all Vince McMahon again on a couple of members of the Dark Order, where it showed three masked members, two of them in jumpsuits, one of them wearing a suit. And he berated the two in the jumpsuits, saying that they need to dress the part. And, walking through an airport, they need to look like stars. They need to look like bigger than life itself. And gave compliments to the member that was wearing the suit, and told the two others to go away, and told the guy in the suit, I have an opportunity for you. And it showed them walking into a door that had the AEW sign on it. So very, very quick segment there with him. And then a very quick match with Brody Lee as well. So, like I said, quick day at the office. He looks impressive. He's looking better and better each week. I think he's really starting to get the rust off from his time away from WWE. And I'm ready to see the Exalted One in a bigger capacity. I know this isn't going to happen anytime soon, but I can't wait for the first time Brody Lee and Lance Archer cross paths, because that's going to be incredible. That's going to be an awesome, awesome match. as for the Vince McMahon-like character, I've been giving my opinion on this for a couple of weeks now, and I know I still don't really have an opinion on it, to be completely honest with you guys. I mean, it's okay. That's really all I can say. I wish I could put it in better terms. I don't hate it, but I don't like it either. It kind of is what it is. I'm a little disappointed because I think I was expecting a little more from the Exalted One character, and I've mentioned this the last couple of weeks, and I know it's going to be beating a dead horse eventually, but I was expecting more of a mysterious character. I like the lead by example that he does, even if it's by physical example, like he did attacking one of the members of the Dark Order last week. I'm okay with that. I think that is a good thing for him to do. But, I mean, he really is a complete ripoff of Vince McMahon, and that's not something I'm a big fan of. So, really, it's two sides to the character. There's the Vince McMahon character, and then there's the Exalted One character. He's kind of playing both sides here. The Exalted One character, the one that's, entertaining in the ring, dominant, leads by example physically with his minions, I like that one. But the one that wears a suit and berates his minions, mentally, not a big fan of, just because of the blatancy of the ripoff of Vince McMahon. So, I guess it's yin and yang for the most part. It is what it is. I think I'm afraid that it is something that's going to get stale quickly, and I think some people might turn on it. So I do think that Brody Lee needs some kind of tweak. He needs something that makes him a little different than Vince McMahon, because that's the way that they're going right now. And he needs his own personality, because Brody Lee's got a great personality. If you guys have heard him in interviews, he's on Jericho's podcast recently. He's a very funny guy. And not that he needs to be a funny character because he's a heel, but he's got a lot of charisma and a lot of personality. He needs to use his own, not the personality based on somebody else taking pot shots at Vince McMahon in the WWE. I just don't think it works. I don't think it's gonna work. I don't think it's something that's ever gonna get over. So it works now. For now, they can make it work for the time being because there's nobody in the crowd. But I think once AEW gets back to performing in front of big audiences, they got to change something up with him, or it's going to get to where he's not going to be getting any reaction at all. And I don't want that to happen, because Brody Lee is an amazing character, an amazing wrestler, and I think he can be something big, but he's got to make a change sooner than later, and hopefully it's sooner. So before our main event, we got a video package highlighting the history between Cody Rhodes and Shawn Spears, and this was very, very well done. It's been a very, very heavy video package night, but AEW production team does a great job on their video packages. This one was no different. They talked about the big chair shot to the head at Fyter Fest last year, their match at All Out, which was an amazing match. I absolutely loved it. That Cody ended up getting the victory in that one. And their feud was really good. It was one of the first major feuds for AEW. And I guess you could say it culminated at All Out, but it still felt like there was some meat on the bone with this one. And that's when Shawn Spears was talking about during this video package, how he's waited 8 months to get his hands on Cody again, that he wants the opportunity. And this one's got even bigger stakes, being a quarterfinal tournament match for the TNT Championship. So we got this match, and it was a very, very good match. I love this match. It's definitely my match of the night. Both guys worked really well. They got good chemistry together. Cody ended up taking a couple of tough bumps in this one. He took a suplex on a guardrail that was kind of leaned over on the apron, and then he also took a what was it called, the C4, the Death Valley Driver, from Shawn Spears out of the ring through a table on the outside. So Cody definitely taking a lot of punishment in this match, but both guys, like I said, had a great showing. This was an awesome match. If you guys haven't seen this, I definitely recommend to go watch it. This was the match of the week for me. And with that being said, though, Cody ended up getting the victory. He came back, hit 2 crossroads, and went for the cover, but Shawn Spears actually kicked out. And it was very, very shocking, because we've seen Cody win with 1 crossroads, and even recently he's shown this more aggressive side, hitting 2 crossroads for victories, but Shawn Spears kicked out of it, and it was a very good near fall. But right after it, Cody put Shawn Spears in the figure 4 and actually defeated Shawn Spears with the figure 4, but not by submission, but by pinfall, which is something I don't think I've ever seen before. And very rarely does the figure 4 win for submission, much less a pinfall. And Chris Jericho, who I got to give credit to, was absolutely incredible on commentary tonight. So much fun. Speaking of chemistry, him and Tony Schiavone have awesome chemistry together. So when Jericho decides to hang it up, when he's done being the best wrestler in the world, he's got a spot on commentary where he's going to be, I'll say it. He could be the next Jerry Lawler. He could be the next Bobby the Brain Heenan. He's that good. He's that charismatic. He's that knowledgeable of the business that Chris Jericho could be them one day. It would take a while because, those are two of the best color commentator guys in the history of pro wrestling. But Chris Jericho's got it. He always has it. Everything in pro wrestling Chris Jericho can do. He's the best in the world at what he does. We all know that. He tells us that, so we know he can do it. But as for his first shot on commentary tonight, he was awesome. But he did a good job of putting both these guys over. And he even mentioned after the match that he's never seen somebody win a match by pinfall using the figure 4 leg lock. So that was a great job by Jericho to put that over. But that being said, Cody got the victory. Cody moves on to the semifinals of the TNT tournament, where he will face the winner of Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin. And, with Cody winning, it definitely puts a big question mark on that match on who's going to win. Because it's like, do you want to keep the heel versus face aspect and do Guevara versus Cody? Or do you want to do the big rematch between Cody and Darby Allin, where Darby went to a time limit draw with Cody, and then last week at the end after the tag match when he decked Cody and walked out. I think that's the way they're going to go. That's the way I would see it, where Darby's going to get the victory and he's going to move on to face Cody in the semifinals, which that would be an absolutely incredible match. But Sammy Guevara, man, he's awesome. He's great. He's one of the fastest rising stars in AEW. I'd put him and Darby Allin kind of 1A and 1B. And, Sammy Guevara is a dark horse for me to win this entire tournament. I think he could do it. It's possible we could see Jake Hager with the world title and see Sammy Guevara with the TNT Championship. It would not surprise me. But with that being said, I think I am going to pick Darby Allin. I think this match is probably going to happen next week. If it does, I would pick Darby Allin to win that one, to do Darby versus Cody. And that's a big match too. So I'm loving this tournament. I love the brackets. But it looks like it's weird when you look at both sides, because in my opinion, on the other side of the bracket, it's pretty much Lance Archer's to lose. They've been pushing him so hard. He was a monster again tonight. They're making it look like nobody can beat this guy. And when he gets to the finals, I think it's going to be either against Cody or Darby Allin. So you could do Lance Archer versus Cody, which is the match that Jake Roberts has been talking about that he wants. He wants to take what Cody has and Lance Archer's going to take it from him by force. Or do you do the David versus Goliath, where you have Lance Archer versus Darby Allin, where nobody's going to think Darby Allin has a chance, especially since you've had Lance Archer face smaller wrestlers the first 2 weeks. It gets that set in your mind where, okay, he faces these smaller guys and just completely dominates them like a Marco Stunt or like a Lee Johnson tonight. So when he goes against Darby Allin, you think Darby Allin isn't going to stand a chance at all, but we know how resilient and how good Darby Allin is, that they could have an incredible match. That's what's great about this tournament, guys. Like, I could see anybody winning this. I really can. But I don't know how long it's going to play out, though. They said that the finals would be a Double or Nothing. I know Double or Nothing is in jeopardy right now with everything going on. If I had a guess, I would probably say Double or Nothing's not going to happen. That they're going to postpone it or just cancel it and head towards All Out. Head towards All Out later on in the year. So I don't know. Well, we'll see what happens. But as for tonight, it was a great main event. I really enjoyed Cody and Shawn. I hope Shawn gets more opportunity to show what he can do and have a bigger spot, because he's great, and I've enjoyed him ever since he was Ty Dillinger in NXT. That's when I really got to know him. I know he spent like 10 years in development before that. But when he started using that 10 character, that's when I really got behind him. And now in AEW, he's taken Shawn Spears to the next level. And I hope they keep using him because he's got so much potential. It'll do a lot of good for him once Tully Blanchard gets back too, because they're kind of keeping the older guys off the road. Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, Jim Ross. They're having these guys stay home, which is good, which is what you need to do with everything going on in the world right now. So once Tully gets back, it'll really help out Sean a lot. And like I said, hopefully Sean stays in that upper mid card, lower main event scene, because he definitely deserves it. All right, guys, that's going to be it for me for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. This was an absolute blast to do, as always. Dynamite was a really good show from top to bottom. Normally it doesn't disappoint. This was another really good one. I thought the women really stood out this week. I thought Britt Baker and Hikaru Shida had a really, really good match. Like I said, it started a little slow, but really picked up. The physicality was there. Britt got busted open. It was a good visual, and I really enjoyed the match. And then the main event, too, I really enjoyed. Like I said, definitely my match of the week. So, all right, guys. Hope you guys have a great rest of the week and enjoy your weekend. And I'll see you next week for the big title match. No holds barred, empty arena. Jake Hager versus Jon Moxley. See you then.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show. Or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.